The movie begins with Sophia, a brilliant founder and CEO of her own fashion company. Now, even though she's the boss, Sophia isn't your typical, unapproachable executive. She's known as an open-minded leader who genuinely values her employees' ideas, firmly believing that inspiration can spark from anyone, not just the people sitting in the boardroom. On the flip side of the world, we meet Max. Max is an incredibly talented chef working at a restaurant owned by a guy named Chef Antoine. Max is a wizard in the kitchen, and his recipe creating skills are seriously top-notch. But whenever Max creates a masterpiece, Antoine swoops in and shamelessly claims all the credit in front of the customers. Max is frustrated, but he keeps his disappointment bottled up inside. Back to Sophia. We find her on a tense phone call with her ex-husband, Mario. Mario isn't just an ex, he's also one of the major shareholders in Sophia's company. He drops a bombshell. He's planning to sell all of his shares to a rival fashion company. Sophia desperately tries to talk him out of it. If those shares change hands, she loses full control of her company, especially since the buyer would then hold an equal share of the power. But Mario won't budge. He's all about the numbers, and in his eyes, Sophia's company hasn't shown enough profit growth recently. The very next day, Sophia calls an emergency meeting with her team. Her trusted right-hand woman, Miranda, delivers the grim reality. Out of the 8 board members, 3 have already sided with Mario. 1 member, Cassandra, is staying neutral, leaving 4 members who haven't picked a side yet, including a key player named Fumiko. To sell his shares, Mario needs a 2/3 majority. That means Sophia still has a fighting chance if she can win over those final 4 votes. Knowing she has to act fast, Sophia decides to meet Fumiko face to face. The only problem? Fumiko is currently in Fiji. Sophia orders Miranda to book the earliest possible flight out that same day. Meanwhile, Max is out shopping at the local market when he bumps into his good friend, Julian. Julian, who is also in the culinary scene, drops some exciting news. He knows a tech entrepreneur who is looking to invest in new culinary ventures. Knowing Max's incredible talent, the investor is interested in funding Max so he can finally open his own restaurant. Julian invites Max to meet the investor, who just so happens to be in Fiji right now. Max hesitates, still scarred by a past business failure, but eventually, he agrees to go. When Max and Julian arrive at the airport, things get weird. Julian asks Max to wear a sharp suit. It turns out, Julian managed to score a private jet charter for the trip, but they don't have a flight attendant. Julian begs Max to play the role of temporary cabin crew for the flight. Max reluctantly agrees, only to discover that the person who chartered the jet is none other than Sophia. Despite it definitely not being his actual job, Max tries his best to serve Sophia during the flight. But as they approach Fiji, the plane hits severe, violent turbulence. The cabin shakes uncontrollably. A panicked Sophia demands that Max initiate emergency procedures. In the chaos, Max is forced to confess that he isn't a real flight attendant, he's a chef. As the weather violently worsens, Julian, who is piloting the plane, is forced to make a terrifying emergency landing right in the middle of the ocean. When Sophia finally regains consciousness, she finds herself stranded on a deserted beach alongside Max, Julian, and the co-pilot, Lance. Julian admits the terrifying truth. He has no idea what their exact coordinates are. Sophia explodes in anger, and both she and Max start blaming Julian for the disastrous flight. Julian tries to keep the peace, assuring them that a rescue team will come. But Lance delivers a harsh reality check. They have crashed near a remote, uninhabited island. With thousands of tiny islands scattered around Fiji, finding them will be like finding a needle in a haystack, especially since the plane sank and the distress signal transmitter is completely dead. Still, Julian tries to stay positive, believing they can survive on the few supplies they manage to salvage. Julian and Lance decide to hike up a nearby hill to look for any signs of civilization. While they're gone, Sophia opens her salvaged suitcase. Inside is the exclusive clothing collection she was planning to pitch to Fumiko. Max, completely misreading the situation, makes a sarcastic joke, assuming she's just some small-time clothes peddler. Sophia quickly shuts him down, making it crystal clear that she owns a major fashion company and is fighting for its survival because the livelihoods of all her employees depend on her. Julian and Lance return with some news. They spotted another island to the west. They plan to take the small emergency life raft and row over to look for help, because the tiny boat isn't strong enough to carry all four of them through the rough, crashing waves. Max and Sophia are told to stay behind and wait on the beach. After Julian and Lance row away, Max gets to work. Hoping a plane might fly overhead, he uses whatever debris he can find to spell out a massive help sign on the sand. As the sun begins to set with no sign of rescue, Sophia asks Max to build a makeshift shelter. Luckily, Max managed to save a bag of his professional kitchen knives, which they used to chop down bamboo. Lacking rope to tie the bamboo together, Sophia makes a sacrifice, tearing up pieces from her precious fashion collection to use as bindings. As they sit by the fire in their newly built hut, the uncertainty of their survival hangs heavy in the air. Max tries to lighten the mood by asking Sophia how she got into the fashion industry. Sophia shares that it all started with her mother teaching her how to sew. That simple hobby blossomed into a passion, leading her to build her entire company from the ground up. She explains that after marrying Mario, she held the majority of the shares, but now he is trying to sell them out from under her. Sophia then asks Max about his journey. He explains his deep-rooted love for cooking, which led him to work for the arrogant chef Antoine. He also opens up about his past, admitting he once opened his own restaurant. But due to his poor management skills, it ended in total bankruptcy. That night, a heavy rainstorm rolls in. Julian and Lance are still dangerously drifting in the rough ocean, while Max and Sophia huddle together under their fragile bamboo shelter, anxiety keeping them awake. When morning finally breaks, Sophia wakes up first. She quietly watches Max sleep, realizing that she genuinely admires his calm demeanor and positive mindset, despite their terrifying situation. Elsewhere, Julian and Lance's gamble pays off. They manage to wash ashore on another beach and finally make contact with a local resident. But back on the deserted island, things take a turn for the worse for Max and Sophia. The high tide has swept away their meager supply of food and fresh water. Remembering that Julian mentioned seeing a river mouth nearby, Max suggests they trek into the dense jungle to find water. The jungle proves to be unforgiving. During their hike, they are suddenly startled by a large snake, causing them both to trip and fall in a panic. Meanwhile, back in the United States, Miranda is holding a tense meeting with the company executives, including Mario. Hearing the shocking news that Sophia's plane went missing, Mario agrees to halt the sale of his shares. Finding Sophia is now their absolute top priority. Miranda immediately books a flight to Fiji to personally oversee the search and rescue operations. By this time, Julian and Lance have joined the official search efforts, flying over the ocean in a rescue helicopter. But because they don't know the exact coordinates of the island, they left Max and Sophia on. The search is proving incredibly difficult. Back on the island, Max and Sophia are forced to adapt. They awkwardly attempt to spear fish in the shallow waters, proving that neither of them is cut out for wilderness survival. Every single task is a massive challenge, but eventually, their efforts pay off. That night, they manage to cook the fish Max speared. It's a simple meal of grilled fish, but after starving all day, it feels like a feast. Sitting by the campfire, the tension between them begins to melt away, replaced by a comfortable, peaceful silence. The next morning, Miranda arrives in Fiji and immediately links up with Julian to get updates on the search. On the island, Max and Sophia are actually finding ways to enjoy their isolation. They pass the time playing tic-tac-toe in the sand. Even though they are still stranded, the warmth between them is growing undeniable. When Sophia accidentally sprains her ankle, Max doesn't hesitate for a second. He scoops her up and carries her. Later, he ventures into the forest to forage for wild herbs to season their food. But while foraging, Max makes a chilling discovery: a human skull hidden in the brush. It's a grim reminder that this island has claimed lives before, and survival is not guaranteed. Later, Sophia opens up about her failed marriage, explaining that despite the divorce, she and Mario managed to stay business partners. When Max asks if she's dated anyone since, she honestly admits she hasn't. The following day, they hike up a tall hill to scout the island. To their shock, they spot a plume of smoke rising in the distance. Thinking it's a rescue party, they rush toward the smoke. But as they get closer, Max notices some strange items scattered around a campsite, including a bag stuffed with cash. Sophia is thrilled to see 3 men in the distance, but Max immediately grabs her and tells her to run. He realizes these men aren't rescuers. They are dangerous pirates using the island as a hideout. They scramble behind the massive roots of a large tree, holding their breath as the pirates walk by. Once the coast is clear, Max comes up with a daring plan. They are going to steal the pirates' boat and escape. They sneak to a higher vantage point to watch the pirates. But their hearts sink as the men board their boat and sail away from the island. With the sun setting, Max and Sophia decide it's too risky to return to the beach, opting to spend the night hidden on top of the hill. Under a canopy of brilliant stars, the two share a deeply vulnerable conversation. Max confesses his lingering fear of meeting the investor in Fiji. He admits he is terrified of failing again and repeating the disaster of his first restaurant. Sophia gently encourages him, revealing that she faced countless failures before her fashion company finally succeeded. Her words give Max the motivation he desperately needs. Caught in the emotional moment, Max confesses his true feelings. He tells Sophia that despite being stranded on a dangerous island, he is actually happy, simply because he is stranded with her. Sophia smiles, admitting she feels the exact same way. An undeniable romance blossoms between them. But knowing they need to stay focused on survival, they decide to get some sleep. The next morning, the pirates return to the island. Max and Sophia see their chance and make a run for the pirates' boat. But when Max tries to start the engine, it's completely dead. Thinking fast, they jump onto a nearby jet ski instead. The engine roars to life and a wild chase ensues as the furious pirates pursue them. Riding the jet ski, Sophia feels a massive rush of adrenaline. She realizes she hasn't truly lived or enjoyed life in years. She promises herself that if she makes it off this island, she will never let work consume her entire life again. Max, holding on to her, is deeply impressed by her fearless driving. They eventually hit land and sprint into the jungle to escape the pursuing pirates. When they reach a wide river, Max grabs a hanging vine, swings across, and helps Sophia safely to the other side. Thinking they've finally lost their pursuers, Max steps close to Sophia, ready to confess his love again. But the pirates suddenly burst through the trees. Max and Sophia run for their lives, only to literally bump right into Julian, Miranda, and the rescue team. They are saved. But the tension quickly turns into confusion and then hilarious embarrassment. Julian and Miranda explain that the 3 pirates chasing them aren't pirates at all. They are just employees from a nearby luxury resort. The resort hosts a themed treasure hunt for its guests, and the employees were just playing a role. They were chasing Max and Sophia because they thought they were wandering tourists who had trespassed into a restricted area. The pirates had no idea they were chasing the missing plane crash victims. Julian explains that the rescue took so long because Fiji has hundreds of tiny islands. They had no idea which one they had crashed near. Despite the comedic misunderstanding, the bond Max and Sophia formed is very real. After finally arriving safely back in Fiji, Max boldly asks Sophia out on a proper dinner date. Upon landing, Sophia is immediately swarmed by aggressive reporters demanding to know if she is still selling her company. Exhausted but composed, Sophia handles the press with her usual grace. That night, Julian tells Max some great news. The culinary investor is still in Fiji and wants to meet him first thing in the morning. Meanwhile, Sophia receives a call from Mario, who tells her to rest and promises that the board has officially postponed the sale of his shares. But Sophia knows Mario's mind can change at any moment. She urgently needs to secure Fumiko's vote, but there's a problem. Fumiko has already flown to Tokyo. Without hesitating, Miranda charters a private jet for Sophia to fly to Tokyo the very next morning. Sophia rushes to meet Max for their planned dinner date to tell him the news. But Max, having waited for hours, assumed she wasn't coming and went back to his room to prepare for his massive investor meeting. The next morning, Sophia heads to the airport, leaving a heartfelt letter for Max to explain her sudden departure. But when Max reads the letter, his insecurities flare up. He begins to doubt everything. He fears that their romance was just a trauma bond, a fleeting connection born from the stress of being stranded. He worries that, now that they are back in the real world, Sophia will just move on. Meanwhile, Miranda mentions to Sophia how incredibly stylish she managed to look even while stranded on a desert island. This sparks a brilliant idea in Sophia's mind for a brand new fashion line. Instead of flying to Tokyo to fight for control, Sophia completely changes her strategy. She contacts Mario with a bold new proposal. She wants to pivot and invest in the restaurant business, taking charge of the culinary sector, while promoting Miranda to take over as the CEO of the fashion division. Surprisingly, Mario loves the idea and agrees. At the exact same time, Max is pitching his dream restaurant to the investor. Originally, he planned to pitch a high-end French restaurant, but remembering his life-changing experience surviving on the island with Sophia, Max scraps his original pitch. Instead, he pitches a restaurant with a fully local concept. Utilizing native Fijian ingredients and a management system he developed himself, the investor is absolutely blown away and immediately agrees to fund the project. Time flies by. Max and Sophia eventually reunite, becoming both a romantic couple and unstoppable business partners. 1 year later, their Fijian-inspired restaurant is a massive success. And under Miranda's new leadership, the fashion company has completely rebounded with fresh, exciting new concepts. Both Max and Sophia finally found exactly what they were looking for, proving that sometimes getting lost is the only way to find your true path. And that's the end of the film. Hit that like button. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.